Hey Masters, if you know me and you've been listening to my podcast, you know health and nutrition is number one. Check out AdvoCare products. I am a distributor. Go to livelongersmarter.com. We got everything you could imagine for your health and nutrition goals. If you're interested, at the end of the podcast, at the very end, there'll be more information on the products. Also, LandVoice is one of our sponsors. They have amazing services. If you need leads, please check out LandVoice for Fizbo, expired, circle prospecting, a dialer, whatever you need. Go to davidihill.com, affiliates. You can click the LandVoice link, and all of the special opportunities will be there.
Get ready for one more sale. Inspiring you with ideas through powerful and engaging interviews with top performers of their field. Now, join us as we discuss techniques and strategies of the coolest and most successful people on the planet.
We've got a guy in our office that he really doesn't do anything but open houses, and he did 25 or 30 transactions in his first year. His lead generation during the week was knocking on neighbors' doors and leading up to his open house. Whatever you're doing to be successful, just double down on it right now. I mean, the market's going to change at some point, but double down on it. Like, leave more voicemails, knock on an extra 10 doors a day, do 1 or 2 extra open houses a month. If that's your thing.
What up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. First off, I just want to thank our listeners because, listen, every single month our listenership is growing, and it's just been awesome. So I'm going to be posting the numbers soon. Just super, super excited about that. And listen, this week we have Josh Anderson with us. Josh is from Nashville, Tennessee. His team did 259 units closed last year for $88 million. Okay, you get that? $88 million. He's been in the business 10 years. And here's the thing. I mean, you're going to be baffled by this statement. He explains to us why it takes boredom to be able to do that kind of volume. You get that? Boredom. So anyway, I'm going to let Josh talk to you about that. A couple things I want to share before we get to the interview. First off, my affiliates page, davidihill.com/affiliates. I want you to check out my affiliates page. We got some awesome mentors on there, some great products, whether you need some amazing coaching services or you're just looking for a dialer or you need talent. We have everything you could think of. davidihill.com/affiliates. We have a Fizbo expired boot camp, guys, starting October 11th for literally $97. I mean, a webinar, 6-week webinar series. We're partnering up with the Hergenrother training group. I don't know where else you can get 6 weeks for $97. As a matter of fact, I thought the price should be higher, but we're going to go along with it, and I cannot wait to share that with you guys. So for that, go to davidihill.com/Fizbo, FSBO. All right, that's it. Hey, please subscribe. As I mentioned earlier, our listenership's growing every single episode, or every month, I should say. So just please subscribe to the podcast. Go to iTunes or Stitcher if you're using an Android. Path to Mastery. Please share it with someone you know. And finally, referrals, guys. If you know people looking to move into Massachusetts, please keep us in mind. We will do a phenomenal job for your referrals. Plus, we will make sure that you get a check. Okay, so we appreciate that. You guys rock. Enjoy Josh Anderson. Hey Masters, welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. Today, guys, we are bringing you an absolute rock star. Josh Anderson is somebody I know. Josh, we've spent some time together in the past at some events as well as the Gary Keller Mastermind. So, hey man, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. I posted something on Facebook saying, hey, we're looking for teams that are doing 250 units plus, and your name was given to me by a couple people, and I said, I know Josh, so yeah, man, I'm glad we could do this. So you are in Nashville, Tennessee, Josh?
That's correct.
Is that correct? Okay, and you've been in the business since 2006, so just 10 years, and last year, guys, get this, his volume, you did 250 units, or 259 units, right? Was it 86 million or 88 million?
88 million.
Man, you're killing it, dude. So 10 years in the business. $88 million. So tell us about yourself, fill in some of the gaps. How'd you get started in real estate, and then bring us to where you are today?
Sure. So I got in the business in April of 2006, and I was laughing with somebody yesterday. I think when you get into the business, it was toward the top of the market, and I graduated in finance and economics. Worked at an investment bank for a little while, and then worked at a private client asset firm. And to be honest, I was not being challenged or mentored, and I didn't feel like I was really learning what I felt like I should be learning. So in the meantime, I was getting my real estate license to buy an investment property. And I kind of just came to this point in the road where I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm just going to do it. I don't know when I'm going to get my next paycheck. I don't know any of that stuff, but I wasn't married and didn't have kids at the time. So I jumped in, and it took me 3.5 months to do my first transaction. I think I did a total of 24 or 26 transactions my first year for $3.3 million. And every year, we've just kind of grown every year since then. And, we run a good business. We didn't hit our goal last year. Our goal was to kind of cross over that 100 million mark. And it's been the elusive for the last couple of years.
Got it. Well, you know what? I want to jump back, though, to something, because this comes up a lot, Josh, is you were in finance and economics, right? And you transitioned into real estate. How hard, because you said you didn't make any money for 3 months, but how was that transition for you? Like, how did you make that work? I see, because the reason I'm asking you this is I see it as one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people that could just have such an amazing life, triple, quadruple their incomes if they went into real estate, but they're terrified to make the jump.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are terrified because, at the time I was 26 or 27 and I owned a house. I didn't really have any bills, though. So I think it's a different situation when you're married and, have kids and you've got private schools to pay for, or you've got, this car or that car or whatever, generally speaking, you have going on. I think it's a little bit different than where I was, but it's still not easy. You're kind of working your butt off every day, coming in, not knowing when the deal is going to happen. And then when the deal does happen, you're still 30 or 45 days out from the deal hopefully closing. And so I don't know if it was ignorance on my part. I just kind of got in. I didn't really fully think all of it through. But I think overall, I came in every single day. Back then, I was doing Camp 443, which was the predecessor, I guess, to 3612-3 or Ignite. And, I was just in the office. The one thing that I've done correctly, and I've messed up a lot of things, but the one thing that I've done correctly and consistently is the basics. And people always ask me, like, if you could tell the audience one thing, what is that? And it's just mastering the basics. And it's extremely boring. And I thought it was me for a long time. And I remember being in Gary's mastermind group, 3 or 4 times ago that he said, hey, look, guys, success is boring. It's very repetitive and it's redundant, but it works. You just do. I think a lot of people get caught up in the shiny objects of the online leads and all the different stuff. And I think if you just love on your database and call and ask for business and add value to your contacts and your relationships, as a byproduct, you're going to always get business back out of that eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I want to touch on a couple things. I'm going to go back a little bit. You had talked about, getting into it, and you mentioned, obviously depending on where people are in their life, it's going to be a lot harder when you have mortgage payments and kids in school and all that, right, to take that risk. But you were able to take it. And you mentioned you weren't sure when the next deal was going to happen, right? And I know you personally, and I don't know if you're a risk taker or not. You seem like a kind of more of a calculated person to me. You tell me if I'm wrong. How did you make that transition and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to make this work? Was it, like you said, just sticking to the basics, showing up every day? Like, how did you have the faith to keep moving forward?
I did show up every day, and I showed up first every day, and I left last. And so I was grinding it out, but I think that, and again, I did the basics. I literally didn't have a CRM. I put an Excel list together of name, phone number, email address, and some notes, and wrote handwritten notes. I'd do 10 or 15 on a Monday, and then I'd call those people on Wednesday, make sure they got it, have a conversation with them. So, those were kind of the starting things that I did. Was I wrote a lot of handwritten notes and put my cards in there. I don't know. I mean, I think it's very easy to get frustrated in this business. And I'll give you a really good example of somebody that just we just offboarded off of our team after 7 or 8 months. And in the exit interview, one of the things that he said to me was, I can't believe that my sales background of almost 10 years doesn't translate over in this business. And he also said, I've got a really good database. I'm surprised that I didn't get more business from my database in a short amount of time. And I told him, I said, look, man, it's really not a sales industry. I mean, it has a sales component to it, but I mean, it's so much more than that. I mean, it's sales, and it's customer service, and it's relationships, and it's, adding value. And I think that a lot of people have a misconception of what we do as agents. I think a lot of people might think we open a couple doors here and there and make these big commission checks, and they don't see all the things behind the scene.
I'm going to jump in 1 second. So let's go back to the person. I'm sure he's a great person, great salesperson. One of the challenges I see a lot of people trying to get into real estate that don't have any sales experience, and they realize, wow, this is a lot different than I had thought. So now you're talking about someone that came into real estate with sales experience and said it doesn't translate. So tell us more about that. Like, what do you think he meant by that? Like, in his opinion, what didn't translate?
It was interesting because in the last year to 2 years, he had bought a house, and I just think that he thought that it was more of like, you're going to pick up the phone and call a certain amount of people and something's going to happen. While that's totally true, I think a lot of times we talk about, converting leads and lead generation. And I think lead generation is extremely important. It's built my business. But I would say that people get confused between lead generation and lead follow-up. And I think lead follow-up is where the nuggets of gold are. And I think I think people stop after 2 or 3 calls, or they stop after, 1 call and they left a voicemail. Well, people have tons of options. They've got Redfin and Zillow and, Josh&nbsp.com and all these other websites to go to. When you leave a voicemail, they're not just going to pick up the phone and call you. Like, what's different about you when they walk through your open house or they go to your website? What's different? What's overwhelming that they need to use David Hill or Josh Anderson versus any of the other agents that they can go to? And so I think for him, I don't think he realized how long the cycle can be of like when somebody goes to your website or somebody calls you. It's really asking lots of questions and finding out what their motivation level is. And, it's nurturing those leads. There is a sales component to it. So I think for me, it made me realize that whether you have sales experience or not, this is just it's a little bit of a hybrid business where there's no rhyme or reason sometimes based on what your background is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It makes a ton of sense. And I know that it's proven that about 70% of our business actually comes as a result of follow-up. And really, Josh, if somebody's good at connecting with people and good at listening and asking questions, man, follow-up is really just a system, but it does take some patience. So I want to back up again to something you said in the beginning. You said success is boring. Is that what you're referring to? Like, tell us about that.
I think the 2 or 3 biggest things that agents have issues with, whether they're starting out or they're staying, trying to stay motivated or getting to the next level is, and I didn't just come into this business and just all of a sudden have like, oh, here's my perfect ideal daily schedule. But I think that getting really dialed in on what your schedule looks like on a daily basis, and I think there's 2 or 3 things that can make or break people in the first 6 to 12 months in the business. And I think it's understanding lead generation and lead follow-up. I think it's understanding your database and knowing how to talk to it and talk to the different types of contacts and knowing what the conversion ratio of all those different contacts are, but also having a perfect schedule. Like, we get so many things coming at us on a daily basis that I think it's easy to just start answering the phone and reacting to what goes on during a transaction. And I think that my philosophy has always kind of been there's nothing that can't wait 2 or 3 hours in real estate. And so I am very structured with regard to my lead generation and my morning time. And I don't think that most agents or business people have like a schedule that they really stick to. And I think that makes a big difference. And maybe I've bought into that idea, but I think that's kind of where I'm saying success is boring, because I literally wake up at 4:42 every single day, except for maybe Saturdays and Sundays, and it's maybe like 5. But I literally wake up every single day at the same time. I do my workouts. I do my cleaning of emails before I make my phone calls. I literally do the same thing every single day, and it's boring, but it's worked for the last 11 years at a pretty high level. So that's where I say success is boring, because it's very redundant. And I think high-level CEOs probably eat the same breakfast every day, and they do the same things every single day.
That's funny you say that. Yeah, I'm exactly the same, like super routine. Same things, waking up at the same time. Why 4:42? I'm just curious. I get up at 4:52.
Yeah, so 4:42, before we had iPhones, the old school alarm clocks that you push the button and it goes like really slow or really fast. Well, I was trying to get it to stop at 4:45, and I'm so impatient. If people are familiar with, I know we don't use it in Keller Williams, but the AVA, I'm a 1 double asterisk on vector 3. So I have very little patience, and I just didn't want to go another 12 hours, through the alarm clock. So it stopped at 4:42.
That's funny.
And that's what time I wake up.
That's great.
Now it becomes a conversation piece, because people are like, 4:42, that's really random.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's funny, like I said, I'm 4:52. And the reason I'm 4:52 is mostly because I want to be up by 5, and it usually takes me about 8 minutes to clear my head. And then by 5, okay, I brush my teeth and I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my logic behind the whole thing. What time do you typically go to bed?
It's typically 9:30-ish to 10.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know that it matters. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that stay up later, and that's fine. I just, for me, I get more done in the morning. I can come up to the office and it's extremely quiet for like 2 or 3 hours, and I can really kind of focus on what my day is going to look like and what I have that I need to attack before my lead generation time.
Love it. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump forward a little bit. I want to get to current. So 2006, you're sending out 10 handwritten notes every day. Today you're closing 88 million. Where did you go? Like, let's say, I think you said your first year you did what, 3.3 million?
Yeah.
What was your first year where you kind of broke out and said, okay, then you realized, all right, there's something bigger here, and I'm going to build a team? Or maybe even a better question, when did you build your team, and why?
Yeah, I started kind of building the team in like 2010 to 2011. And I can tell you exactly where my first, at least in my mind, my first next level kind of breakout was. I came back from Mega Camp in August of 2011, and I said, I am absolutely figuring out this showing specialist model. Aaron Armstrong and I both came back and said, he was always my roommate, and we have very similar businesses. And I said, we're going to figure this out, because neither one of us really want to work with buyers anymore. So we both kind of implemented it at the same time. He no longer really has that implemented, but it's one of those things, we still use it. And I think that it works for our business really well. I know some people say it doesn't work. That was my first, like, all right, if we can figure this out, it can really streamline the buyer side of the business, so I can focus on the seller side or the listing side of the business. And, we fumbled a couple of times on the first couple of deals, and we intentionally did the first couple with internet leads, because I didn't want it to be from somebody from my database or past client. But, we fumbled a couple of times and stepped back and go, okay, we need to repackage this, or we need to redo this. And it ended up, we still use it. And I know that there are several people using it. I don't know anybody that does it necessarily at a higher level than we do. And that was kind of our first, game changer, as far as like really making the agents more efficient and ultimately making them all more money and better customer service with regard to the way that our market is right now.
Okay, got it. Now, were you and Aaron in the same market center?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, got it. And you were back then as well, correct?
Yep.
All right.
His office is actually right next to mine.
Oh, all right. That's cool. And so, I mean, technically you could say you guys are competitors, right? But yet you guys are working together and you're helping each other both build these large businesses back then and with the showing agent model. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's not a story you hear probably too much outside of our company, right? I mean, it's kind of rare to see that.
I don't know any other companies that help internally as well as externally as much as Keller Williams, as far as being willing to, I mean, I taught a class last week, for example, and they were like, oh, can we have that? Oh, can we have that? Can we have that? And I said, here's Steven. Here's his email address. You can have any of my documents, anything that I've ever created or one-upped or whatever. You can have all of it. I don't care. I mean, it's stuff that we use, but if I can help another agent get to the next level, I've had tons of people help me. I just feel like being able to give back, and if I can help somebody make it a little bit easier, then great.
Yeah, I love it. I agree with the Zig Ziglar quote. It says, if you help enough people get what they want, then you'll end up with whatever you want. And I agree with that 100%, my friend. So here we are today. You're closing 88 mil. You fell short of your goal of 100 mil. Poor guy. And so how did you do that? Like, where does that business come from? Tell us a little bit about that business.
So for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been somewhere between like 73 and 75% has been from a combination of past clients and referrals. And when I say a combination, I mean past clients, local referral sources, and then another big piece of that has been agent referrals from around the country. So,
and how many on your team right now?
So we've got 14 people on the team, and It's a little bit admin heavy, but it's because so much of our business comes from our past clients. And so we do a lot of housewarming parties and client events. And because that's where we've decided we're going to love on our database more than maybe some other people. And because we don't have as much burn and churn, we get a lot of business from our past clients, and they continue to work with us and come back to us and, refer friends and family and coworkers to us.
So a lot of you said 73 to 75% of your business comes from referrals and past clients. Where do you focus, or where does the other 25%? I mean, so if we look at the numbers, you're talking about 75 deals come from other areas. Where would those deals come from?
Yeah, it's a combination of people doing either open houses or online. We'll get, what I would call kind of an online sign call, which is like we don't pay for Zillow or anything like that, but we get, an internet lead that is ultimately like a sign call off of one of our listings. And so, the other 50, 75 deals comes from that type of thing. And I'd say probably even a little bit more of it is sphere of influence, past client, that are like one level away, kind of like a second degree connection. They've heard our name, they've seen our name, and they weren't really referred to us, but they've seen us in the community enough that they called us and we converted them from an internet lead type of thing.
So what was the year that you guys kind of broke through? I mean, I don't know exactly what you're doing for volume. Did you go from 30 million to 60 million to 80 million, or did you go from 30 million to 80 million? What did that look like?
Once we got over like 25 to 30 million dollars, and I'd have to go back and look year by year, but once we got over 25, 30 million-ish, we really kind of were growing by 25 to 35% a year. So like the first couple of years, I doubled the business. So 3.3 to like 6.7. And then it wasn't a double. It was like, somewhere 9.5 to 10 million. And then it was like 14. And then we brought somebody on and it was like, all right, we did 28 million and then 35 or 40 million. And then, and we've always said, all right, if we want to grow, we've got to add this person. But, we could have grown a lot quicker and a lot more probably. Our agents have stayed for a long time. So we've got one agent that's almost 7 years. She's our most senior agent. And then another agent's been here for 4.5 years. And she's probably, from a path of progression standpoint, like the perfect, she's the poster child for starting out as an ISA, then becoming a showing specialist, and ultimately becoming kind of a lead senior agent on the team. But she kind of went through that whole path of progression to understand all the different pieces of the agent model. Taking $24,000 a year as an ISA, and she's on track to net over $250,000 this year.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So what makes her successful? Like, how was she able to make that transition or that progression?
I think bringing them in as an ISA really makes them have to understand picking up the phone and calling and asking for business and converting leads and follow up. And so like that was her foundation, was that. And then from there, after 1 year, she got her real estate license and then kind of continued to grow. And, she's become a good agent. And I think it's, like I said, just kind of over time, she has continued to grow and
do you think she's good at follow-up? Is that one of the things that makes her successful? Is she good with people, or just a combination of a lot of things?
I think it's a combination. I think she's good with relationships and customer service. She's organized. Most agents, I'd say, are, kind of one or the other. Like most of them are good at converting business or good at follow-up and not very organized. And she's got the organizational piece of it down pretty well. I think that's a little bit of a game changer. One of my previous buyer's agents that was with me, total workhorse, but from an organizational perspective was a total disaster. And I love her, but she was a total workhorse, though. I mean,
it's so common, though, right, in real estate, where people get into it and they're really, really good with people, but they're just super disorganized, right? Like that real high I person. But hey, with the right system and support, those guys turn into massive rock stars as well. Hey, Masters, we're going to get you right back to the show. And I just ask if you would go to our affiliates page, guys. Listen, we have everything that you could think of at davidihill.com/affiliates. If you need real estate leads, we have Land Voice, we have Vulcan 7. If you need training, guys, we got Pat Hyben. And listen to this. This training that Pat is offering through Rebus University, you go to my site, you can actually get a discount. It's phenomenal. I'm not just saying that because I actually am going through the listing training myself before I'm going to start offering it to my team members. It's just fantastic. Training links for Jarek Robbins coaching, Nolly Williams if you're looking for a special listing packet. Guys, we have everything on there, building a platform right now so that you guys can be super, super successful in the real estate business. Also, ZipRecruiter. If you need talent, guys, ZipRecruiter. Everything is right there on my site, davidihill.com/affiliates. And also get yourself a copy of the sales playbook. If you haven't picked up the sales playbook yet, please get out there, get yourself a copy. You're going to love it. And health and nutrition, it's number one for me. So again, a link from my affiliates page, davidihill.com/affiliates. And finally, please, referrals, Massachusetts, keep us in mind. We would love to handle your referral business. Just reach out to me. Certainly find me on Facebook. Or if you want, if it's easier, shoot me an email, david@davidihill.com. Thanks. You rock. Enjoy the rest of the show. Let me ask you this question, because obviously I reached out, we were looking for people closing 250 transactions. A lot of our listeners are, closing 75 transactions, 100 transactions, 110, whatever. What would you say would be the way to break through that ceiling and double your business or get to 250 transactions, 250 plus?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a boring answer, but it's like whatever you're doing to be successful, just double down on it right now. I mean, the market's going to change at some point, but double down on it. Like leave more voicemails, knock on an extra 10 doors a day, do 1 or 2 extra open houses a month if that's your thing. We've got a guy in our office that he really doesn't do anything but open houses, and he did in his first year, he did 25 or 30 transactions in his first year. I mean, it was just one of those things. That was what he did all day. His lead generation during the week was leading up to his open house, knocking on neighbors' doors. And so whatever you're doing to be successful, just double down on it. Do more of it. Because not everybody wants to come into the office and just lead generate on the phone. It's probably the most efficient, but some people don't like to do that. Figure out what that thing is, or those 2 or 3 things. I tell my team, you're sitting in a chair, those legs are what hold you up. Figure out your database is going to be one of them. What are your other 2 or 3 legs of your chair going to be?
I love that. So now are all your team members, are they on like a regimented schedule like you, or what is that? What does your day look like with your team?
Yeah, they are, but it's staggered because, they're working more of the buyer side of the business and they're in and out of showing. So they aren't going to necessarily come in and lead generate for 3 hours at a time like I do, but we have call nights. We implement the 15th protocol. We do some of those things to really, as a team, to create culture, but also to set up more appointments. We have contests for the most referrals on a monthly basis, just doing different things and trying to always change it up, because I'm not going to kid myself. I know everybody doesn't want to come in and just make 20 contacts and ultimately, set 1 or 2 appointments a day. And I know that's not ideal. So we'll occasionally hey, we're going to do a group open house, or we'll do a series of open houses in a neighborhood where the entire teams doing something together.
So what would you say, Josh, is what's the magic formula for your team of 14? You got everybody working together. Why is that?
I think that we have less agents doing more, and I think ultimately they stay longer because they are lead generating on their own, working their own database, plus they're getting some of the leads that come in that are come list me's or, hey, because of the brand. And I think that they all make a lot more money than your average real estate agent, especially when you look at, it's kind of I compare having a well-run team to kind of a franchise. Why would you open up a burger joint if you could just buy a McDonald's? So I look at those kind of things and go, there's some value. I think over time, people are going to be more inclined to joining teams because all the systems, and that's all relative, like teams are different, but I mean, you can run and build a business within a business. And I think you can ultimately make more money on a well-run team because of the systems and the branding and the marketing and the advertising and the, signs and yards. I think it's easier to do all of this business as a team than individually. Yeah.
I saw a stat recently, and my numbers may not be 100% accurate. It was along the lines of people on teams are making, it was like 30% more than individual agents or something along those lines. It was between 20 and 30%.
And the reason people don't really know that is because most agents don't have a P&L statement and they don't actually know how much money they're making because they get a commission check and then they go, oh, well, I need to throw some money at some of these online leads, or I need to do radio, or I need to do this. And they don't actually look at what they're making per dollar spent and what they're getting back. And so most of them can't do an apples to apples comparison to determine whether a team's better or not. Their first mindset thought is to go automatically, wow, I'm giving a lot of money away, instead of, all right, let's look at what on paper I would make if I was on a team and I'm making a net number versus a gross commission over here, but I'm spending X, Y, and Z to do it.
Yeah. Similar. It's the same as like the Fizbo mindset, right? I'm going to sell the house by myself and save the fee, not realizing that most times they sell it for less money and do twice as much work to sell it. So if not more than twice as much work.
Well, they mentally are looking at, they can brag that, ooh, I sold it on my own, or I only paid $500 to put it on MLS. And it's like, well, yeah, but how much money, when you start looking at what you paid in commission versus what you put in your pocket is a very different conversation. Unfortunately for us, the general public or most consumers think that we all kind of do the same thing.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's not true. And we know that, but making other people understand that's kind of difficult.
Well, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. That's why one guy's closing 88 or 100 million and the next guy's doing, 3 million. So that's why. All right. So that said, Josh, a couple more questions. I guess in your opinion, I think I get what makes you successful, but in your words, what makes you successful? 10 years in the business, you've exceeded a lot of people I know that have been in the business a lot longer than that. Why is that?
I would say I am an extremely competitive person. I'm the youngest of 4, and I think all of those things go into who I am, just growing up with, being the youngest and competing with brothers. And, I think that makes a difference of if I'm going to do this business, I'm either going to be all in or I'm not. And that's kind of my personality and my behavioral. I'm an extremely high DI personality. And I think that it doesn't matter which mastermind group you're in, but being in Gary's mastermind, being around other big thinkers and other, for the people that don't have the opportunity yet to be in Gary's mastermind, keep grinding it out. You will. But in the meantime, go find a couple of people that are at the next level and go pick their brain, take them to lunch, find mentors in your town, find other people that are like, man, I really respect that guy or that girl's, that lady's business or whatever it is. They don't even have to be in the real estate business. Just, when you're around town, go look at other businesses that you're like, wow, they've done a really good job. Pick up the phone and call that guy. Nobody will ever say, no, I am not going to go grab coffee with you if you compliment them and go, hey, I drive by your business all the time. You've built an unbelievably amazing business. I'd love to take you to coffee and pick your brain for 30 minutes.
Hey, great advice, man. Great advice.
If somebody picked up the phone and called me and said that about my business, I'd be like, all right, yeah, let's grab coffee. I mean, everybody likes to hear that their business is doing well and that other people respect or envy.
Well, I know you do that, my friend. I'm not sure that everybody would do that, but I think a lot of people would. I agree with you on that. And the other thing I mentioned, or I forgot to mention, man, is you have always had the coolest friggin' blazers, man. I was just thinking that's how, I don't know if that's how we met, but I used to always see you in the mastermind and I'd see you around and you always had the coolest jackets. So I don't know if you remember that. I used to always compliment you.
You always give me compliments on my jackets.
Yeah, man, you were killing it.
I have a small fortune in my closet, which my wife is not real excited about, but I love my blazers.
Nice. All right. So what about a book recommendation, man? What would be, beyond the MREA series of books, what would be the book recommendation you would give to our listeners? So let's say somebody that is at a place where they really want to build a real estate team, or I don't know if necessarily even has to be a real estate team, but what would it take to get to the next level? What would be your book recommendation?
What I'm reading right now is One Page Talent Management. So it's just about eliminating things in your business and life that you don't need and adding value and continuing to add value. It's not the most exciting book, but it's like 150, 160 pages. Gary always gives us good books to read. I think a lot of times I go back where I am in my business right now is, I'm working on a little bit of expansion into some of the neighboring areas. So I always kind of go back to, Sam Walton and the ink blot strategy and like how Walmart grew. To me, that business is fascinating because it started in like small town, rural America and became a giant.
I love it. What's that book again by Sam Walton? Is it How Walmart Grew? Is that what you said?
Gosh, let me think of the name.
Either way, you mentioned the One Page Talent Management. I'm not sure if that's actually on Audible, but you guys can actually go to davidsfreebook.com right now, get yourself a free book. Check for the talent management book, or even Sam Walton's book on how Walmart grew.
Yeah, it's called Sam Walton Made in America.
Sam Walton Made in America. That must be on Audible. So get yourself a free book at davidsfreebook.com. So, Josh, what question did I not ask you?
I think for all the people that are listening, I think we make this business complicated, and I'm very guilty of that, but I think it's all about getting into business with the right people, hiring the right people, constantly recruiting. And I think for individual agents, don't overthink it. Just lead generate, whatever that means to you. Constantly lead generate, constantly ask people. If you don't ask, I fully believe you're not going to get if you don't ask. So just don't overthink the business. Come in, figure out what your schedule is going to look like, stick to it day in and day out, and double down on lead generation.
I love great stuff, my friend. I say I love it too much. I gotta get away from that. So it sounds to me like this is an interview we just did with somebody, got listeners to. It's doing almost 100 million volume, 260 units, and he just told you how simple it is. Just show up every day and be committed and go all in. I mean, you didn't say anything to us today, Josh, that any of our listeners just can't start doing right away. There's nothing complicated about what you said today.
No, and everybody knows how to do it. It's just a matter of buckling down and doing it. I mean, it's simple. It's not always easy, but it's definitely simple.
Yeah, you nailed that. Okay, so that said, my friend, how do our listeners get in touch with you for referrals?
Our That's a big piece of our business. We love agent referrals. My email is josh@joshandersonrealestate.com. You can also go to our joshandersonrealestate.com website. Would love the opportunity to work with anybody moving to the Nashville area.
All right, great. And the final question, our staple question is, what is the one thing on our listeners' path to mastery that you want them to take from this interview today?
I think if you could pick one thing, go figure out what your daily schedule is going to look like and make sure there's at least 2 hours of lead generation in it. The rest of the day, the afternoon, doesn't necessarily matter. Make sure in the morning time before noon, there's 2 hours of lead generation. I mean, I think that's the biggest struggle, even on my team, is people don't have a schedule that they can stick to every single day.
Brilliant. Thank you, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Hey, Masters, you guys know how important health and nutrition is to me. I just want to talk to you a little bit about products I use called AdvoCare. I've been using these products for about 1.5 years now, mostly just for energy. They've got a really awesome drink. It's called Spark. If you want to check out anything, I would tell you, go check out the energy drink Spark. That's what I did for, like I said, almost 1.5 years without even trying any of their other products. And then this past January, a bunch of us, January 4th, decided we were going to do the 24-day challenge, which is a 10-day cleanse and then 14 days of just really healthy eating, vitamins, meal replacement, just awesome 24 days just to kind of get yourself on track and get into some right habits. So Richie Ryan did it with us. Guys, he lost, today's February 5th, I think he's at 24 pounds lost since January 4th. Melissa at our office lost 6 pounds. Min at our office lost 5 pounds. Guys, I mean, listen, it's amazing. Regardless, if your goal is losing weight, my goal wasn't losing weight. I did the challenge just so I could experience it. And, I lost a few pounds, but now I put some weight back on because I started using some of the supplements and the protein powder and all the other stuff. So now I've gained about 3 pounds of muscle and just feel awesome. My energy's through the roof. So whether you're looking for energy or you're looking for just wellness, I mean, they've got some amazing green products that I love taking before I go to bed. Or if you're looking for performance, athletic products, we've got the athletic performance products. And then just active, if you're an active adult, maybe getting a little older in the age and you want to just keep everything working the right way and functioning. Listen, Gary Keller said it best. If you don't take care of your body, where are you going to live? And I just love that. So, hey, I just ask you to check out AdvoCare's products. I'm a distributor, so I'd love to help you, talk to you about your nutrition and health goals. You go to livelongersmarter.com, livelongersmarter.com. If you loved what you heard on this episode and you're looking for more techniques, tools, strategies, and ideas, simply go to thesalesplaybook.net and get yourself a copy of the Sales Playbook. You can also go directly to Amazon, type in the Sales Playbook, and buy your copy today.
You are listening to One More Sale with your host, David I. Hill, author of the Sales Playbook. Get your copy at www.thesalesplaybook.net.